Comments, right? Just verifying nobody signed up, so we'll move right on to the approval of the agenda. Need a motion to approve. Judy. Second, Joyce. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-0. It was just pointed out. As always, I need to recognize the fire exits for those who are here in case of any emergencies. We have the doors that you came in, and then out to the left immediately, or doors on either side of the blue curtains will also take you directly outside. I'm sure we won't need it. And just quickly recognizing, even though we officially started the meeting, for those here, we did just recognize all 13 fall athletic teams as scholar athlete teams. I think that's a fantastic accomplishment that all 13 were that. Yep. So thank you to our administration, to our staff, to push that it's not just about performance on the field, but it's also about performance in the classrooms. Great combination. So we will move on, though. We have our student advisor here tonight, Madison Kelly. Thank you. Please come to the microphone.
There we go. Now it's on. So I just wanted to call to everyone's attention that this week is, in fact, midterms week. Obviously, for some students, that causes a lot of stress. But it seems that people have been doing pretty well, and the energy in the school is kind of high because we came off of a 2-week break, which was really nice, and people seem well rested and pretty happy. I don't know whether or not that's because of coming back to school, but it is nice to see some smiles in the hallway. Also, applications are done for senior students, which is really nice. The final deadline of January 15th is always really great to get to. So now it's just time to apply for scholarships and await those decisions. So that's a nice feeling. And then also, people are also obviously getting sick with this change in the weather, which I'm sure we all can relate to. So that might also be a reason of the low energy and the high stress. And also, just to point out too, I know that January is a pretty rough month mental health-wise for people, so there's definitely a lot of resources that the school has been able to provide, and people are able to ask for and step up for help during this rough month. And then also, I just wanted to mention that the leadership seminar course that I was able to partake in this first semester just ended. It's a half-year course, and that's the one where the students are able to go to Washington and have meetings with government officials there. And our final project was actually to pick Mount Rushmore, or pick our own Mount Rushmore and create our own. And I just thought this was a really interesting and creative concept, and I wanted to point it out because Mr. Sliz was actually on one of my friends' Mount Rushmore projects, and I just wanted to mention that. So wow. It's a pretty amazing thing to see people's different Mount Rushmores and hear the impact that people have made to them. And I just thought it was a really wonderful concept to think of gratitude and see it in your everyday life and ask for it to be presented to people. And pretty short roundup this month, but thought it was all important. So thank you guys again for allowing me this opportunity to share with you all, and I hope you all have a wonderful week and rest of the month.
Thanks,
Good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madison, to you as well, and your midterms also, and waiting, I assume, now as well with everybody else on college applications. You have my curiosity up. I'm glad people recognize Mr. Sliz, but I'd like to see that Mount Rushmore.
Kind of scary looking if I'm on there.
As for the president's report, as Madison pointed out, we're halfway through the school year. We are over halfway through our fiscal year, right? And so I went back and reviewed all the board workshops and the topics, things we've been doing so far this year, because we are, guess what? It's budget time for us, right? So we're going to get very busy here. But our agendas, I was looking at those agenda topics, one, because Judy and I will be getting here together a little bit later this week to go over possible retreat topics, as well as, though I putting anything into the parking lot, I'll always take ideas of future things you want to make sure we discuss. But here's kind of what we've done, if you don't mind me reviewing it. It's great that it's fitting into our strategic initiatives, that we went through all that in effort with the community, that we listened, we had a lot of people involved, and these are some of the things that we've talked about on the facilities planning. Everybody knows, right? We had the bond successfully pass. Moving along, but I think the beauty that came out of Tim joining the board too is our facilities committee, that on top of our strategic initiative to get our buildings up in shape, all of our facilities in shape, we now also have a committee kind of dedicated to that. And so that's moving along with our strategic initiative. On the educational program, we've had a lot of things we've talked about, right? Defined outcomes and skills necessary for post-secondary education, not just college readiness, but we've had career readiness. We've also looked at data of those, and there's more still to do. So we've done that. We've talked about curriculum alignment and course guides, horizontal and vertical, and all those areas. Cultural competency, the large lift that is, and the self-imposed type audits and councils and committees that have been created in order to make sure our educational programming is appropriate for all students. We've reopened the changing of school start times, and the transportation study is still well underway, taking a second look at how we can make it happen sooner than later. Fiscal sustainability, we discussed and voted on budget goals, facilities maintenance that's within the budget itself, and obviously over the next few weeks we will be hitting this quite a bit harder. So I'm going to steal a phrase from somebody I heard recently is, take your vitamins, because we got a lot of work ahead of us between now and April, right, and the vote in May. So we're going to be keeping busy. So look forward to that, but please let us know topics, both, future workshops here in the next few months, but obviously they're going to be heavy budget related, and listening to people in the community, our school community, as well as the wider community. So we look forward to those conversations. That's everything I have. With that, we will turn the time over to our superintendent, Mr. Provenzano.
Among the most accomplished and fabled tribes of Africa, no tribe was considered to have warriors more fearsome or more intelligent than the mighty Maasai. It is perhaps surprising then to learn the traditional greeting that passed between Maasai warriors, and how are the children? It is still the traditional greeting among the Maasai, acknowledging the high value that the Maasai always place on their children's well-being. Even warriors with no children of their own would always give the traditional answer, all the children are well. Meaning, of course, that peace and safety prevail, that the priorities of protecting the young are in place, that Maasai society has not forgotten its reason for being, its proper functions and responsibilities. All the children are well means that life is good. It means that the daily struggles for existence do not preclude proper caring for their young. I wonder how it might affect our consciousness of our own children's welfare if in our culture we took to greeting each other with this daily question, and how are the children? I wonder if we heard that question and passed it along to each other a dozen times a day, if it would begin to make a difference in the reality of how the children are thought of or cared about in our own country. I wonder if every adult among us, parent and non-parent alike, felt an equal weight for the daily care and protection of all children in our communities, in our towns, in our states, and in our country. And I wonder if we could truly say without hesitation, the children are well. Yes, all the children are well.
Thanks, Zach. As we start the new decade, this video really captures the essence of what I feel. Whenever I hear it, I've heard it multiple times, I think of our Board of Education. And I think, when we're creating budgets, when we're talking about programming, we're talking about initiatives, we really strive to make it about the children. And, I've had the pleasure to work with all of you, and everything that the board stands for and does is about the children. And as we approach the new decade, as we continue to do great things for children, this will be the theme as we build a budget. The budget is a story of our priorities. And as Mr. Forsgren said, we're all ready. We're all looking forward to taking our vitamins and having robust conversations about protecting and doing what's best for our children, making sure that they have programming and class sizes that are developmentally appropriate. We know and understand that mental health is a priority, and I'm really proud that our district can boast and and talk about all the great things that we do to support wellness. And this Board of Education has made it a priority in the past. We will continue to do so, and we'll continue to hear about the needs of our children through this budget process. A variety of ways to connect students to our schools and engage them in our programming. Are you able to get to that and make that? This is a live link. I don't know if you're able to. Go into that. This just came, and I didn't really have a lot of time to plan or prepare it. But take a look at some of this artwork. Scroll through it if you can a little bit. This artwork is currently at the Rochester Institute of Technology in the Beaver Gallery. This artwork is part of a Monroe County-wide effort to celebrate and honor students' work. We've had 17 students who participated in this showcase, and this artwork is on display. And I have to tell you, this is about intentionality. This is about giving our students the opportunity to connect, find their personal selves and their identity. When you're talking about building a budget, this is it, right? If you talk about the number of kids who participate in art, the number of kids who benefit from these higher level opportunities, and you see that woven throughout our entire curriculum in the area of art and the performing arts, music, very intentional programming. We have over 70 electives for students to choose from. We have hundreds of clubs. Thank you very much. And we'll be talking more about this, and I'm hoping we could bring these wonderful students to the board meeting next month to honor them. Christina, that's what I wanted to talk to you about. We got to bring these students and celebrate their good work. And it's all directed to this budget and the budget goals that we have. Curriculum management related to our educational priorities. How do we build this coherent curriculum? How do we make sure that students have an opportunity to thrive in this coherent academic program? Because that's, at the end of the day, what we're about as well. We are looking to allocate up to 1% of our annual budget for the maintenance of our facilities and building infrastructure, and updating our facilities to support modern learning environments. Again, the board's intentional mindset to say, hey, these facilities are important. As Mr. Forsgren said, there's a facilities planning group. We just met last week. And we're talking about the future. We're talking about how do we maintain and protect our investments, making sure that we're taking care of them, and we're transparent and show the community at large why it's a priority and how it fits into our overall programming. And this idea of cost containment, you'll be hearing about, from consortiums to consolidation with printing to, making sure that we're being responsible and responsive to our taxpayers as we go through the budget process. And this one I'm really proud of, because I think this speaks to this idea of sustainability. We understand the importance of facilities planning. The board understands the importance of how to use reserves, or when to use reserves, and to use reserves to offset the cost of future projects, because we do have a mandate. Very specifically, we'll be meeting with the community very soon to talk about budget and to get their feedback. Today was a staff forum. There'll be another staff forum next week on January 28th at 4:30 at Chuana Perrin. There's a community budget meeting as highlighted on this slide right here, next Thursday, January 30th, 7 p.m. at Minerva DeLand in the LGI. And the budget vote, and there'll be plenty of reminders as we go through, will be Tuesday, May 19th. And I also believe there'll be 2 Board of Education seats open at that time. More to come on in the future. But as we're building a budget, the budget tells a story. And I'm moved and inspired by this board, because if you take a look and you did a line item of all of our programming, we could try to find, and we can make a connection to, how do you build resilience in our students? How do you give them the skills and the capacity to take their experiences and be the best version of themselves? I passionately believe that education, our schools, K-12, Fairport schools, is a gateway. It's a gateway for student success. It's a gateway for students that lie the foundation. Now, college is important. Don't get me wrong. Trade school is important, but we set the path here. The experiences that we offer our students tells them they're going to be successful, gives them the opportunity to express themselves. And again, this is nothing new to the Board of Education, but I'm excited about the budget season because we get to tell our story, and then we can make it a priority in our budget as we move through the budget season. There'll be many budget events. I'm not going to go through each one of them. Again, this is posted online. We'll be communicating it to the public from January 30th, Minerva DeLand Community Forum to particular hallmark dates such as the instructional budget in March. Meet the candidates or candidate petitions are due on April 20th. And of course, on May 19th will be the actual budget vote. And we'll be communicating this as we move through. Very proud of this access, equity, and diversity. Where does this fit? Well, if you think about the skills and dispositions students need to be successful in schools and in life, this is where that fits. If you look at our global world, if you look at how we are internationally connected, we have a responsibility to be responsive to that. And this is what we're doing in our Fairport schools. And again, the cool thing about this, I'm just building upon the heart, the DNA of our Board of Education. I've been in this district for close to 15 years, and these ideas have always been deeply ingrained into who we are. I'm proud of the fact that we're starting to really measure our success. We're starting to show progress on these are the things that we're doing to develop cultural competency. If you look at all of our buildings, this is what they're talking about. If you take a look at how we're trying to reimagine our HR and recruitment efforts, this is what we're talking about. Our website's going to look different as we near the end of the year. How we're recruiting candidates, it's going to look completely different because we know that as our demographics change, so does our teaching staff. That needs to change. Lead by Example Group is an incredible opportunity for community members to come together and talk about their stories. And I've been to one of these last month. They occur monthly. We'll post the dates on our website, but it's an opportunity to hear the voice and the stories of our families. And it was so powerful sitting at Joanna Perrin last month, hearing our community members' interests and passions around how can we be better for each other. The Diversity Council, again, taking a look at our policies and our practices through the lens of multiple interested stakeholders who are very passionate about access, equity, and diversity. They're going to be a council. They're going to make recommendations to me, and I'll be sharing them with the board. We do have board members represented on the Diversity Council. Ms. Kostek and Ms. Cardona are part of the Diversity Council. The district is conducting an equity audit. Again, we don't talk enough about this. This is happening throughout our entire district. There's been focus interview groups. We're administering a survey in the next 2 weeks that will be going to students 5th through 12th grade, to community members at large, to families who will be able to share their perspectives and how do they feel in our schools? How do our students feel in their schools? Are they welcoming? Are they engaging? Is it a place where students can connect? There's a data team that's going to be processing this information and sharing with the community and, of course, the Board of Education, which will help set the stage for the future. So this is directly related to how we want our students to be outside of our school world as we develop them the very best citizens. Fairport Forward, as Mr. Forsgren was just speaking about as well, we are in the design phase. Lots of communication and collaboration. Today there was a meeting with science teachers here at the high school. There was a number of science teachers taking a look at the layout of the room, looking at the space that they're going to have. Tomorrow we're meeting with kitchen staff. The conversations just continue. Now we are into the nitty-gritty of the designing, bringing the users on to really start shaping how they envision their space. Now, their goal here through winter 2020 is to get us to bids. We need to get a project so we can start getting our bids out. And it gets submitted to SED, and that moves us along the continuum. And then in the spring of 2021, you see the hard hat, that's when construction begins. All right, and 2021, 2022, and 2023, that's multiple years of construction in the Fairport Forward project.
In the design phase, have you given any thought to having, like, for instance, the science teachers maybe visit
see what their high school science labs are like? And just
Yeah, I believe we
get
visited.
an idea of what else is out there?
I believe we visited already Victor McQuaid, and there was one other one, I believe. So yes, I mean it's yeah. You go and see what's out there and
Give the people who
perspective.
see what
Yep.
Penville High School does.
Yeah, we did that before the holiday break. Yep.
And that was with the teachers and the stakeholders.
Yep.
And the kitchen staff.
Correct. Yep. We will definitely. Again,
There might be something out there that
they're the cooks in the kitchen, whether you're teaching science or in the kitchen. So yeah, we value the feedback, and that's how we.
what else is out there.
Yep. The first phase, and again, just to continue this conversation, replacing the synthetic turf, starting in July of 2020 to the August of 2020. Last year, 71, it was scheduled 71 different times just by our interscholastic teams. That field. That doesn't count our PE staff who use and our students who use it throughout the day. It doesn't count the amount of youth sports and activities that use it. So it's number one on our priority list, and we're looking at different ways to integrate that and have it completed as part of our budget process, and also with our scope of our work at Fairport High School. Build new multi-purpose synthetic turf fields. We're still having discussions about turf and the pros and cons about turf. We'll be talking about that. But at the end of the day, we have a projection of April 21st to November 21st, a timeline. We wanted to make sure that you separated those because we didn't want to have two of our fields under construction and not usable. We're going to be maximizing state aid as well as we replace the existing turf field. We're going to renovating science classrooms in June of 2021, and you can see those will be finished in 2023 of August. The cafeteria is slotted to be in June of 2020-21 and August of 2020-22. We're having conversations on where these kiddos are going to eat. How is that going to affect our programming? Where's the swing space going to be coming from? These are all live conversations that are happening, and we're hitting the ground running. Team room upgrades, which is part of phase one of Fairport High School, with ventilation and locker upgrades. Gym renovations, 2023 to September 2023. Partial corridor renovations. That's the space between the cafeteria and the gymnasium. That area is going to be renovated. So again, lots of phasing, and this is a public document, that sort of articulates how we plan on phasing and scoping the work out. And then you take a look at the boiler replacements, the vestibules, the science and technology classrooms at the middle school. You have Martha Brown. Again, you're looking at December of 21 to August 22. Again, there'll be swing space needed. You'll be seeing that during the school year, construction will be taking place in those classrooms at at Martha Brown. Minerva DeLand has the building envelope, April 2000. It's so weird saying 2022 and 2000 in October. So again, just to spiral it out, Jefferson Avenue and the work that's going to be occurring there on site with the vestibules and the new bus and parent drop-off, and so on and so forth. So you could see that the team has started, starting to coordinate. We've shared this with the facilities planning group as well that meets monthly, and we'll be talking more about this in the very near future. We're excited about all the planning and great efforts coming to fruition. But there it is in a nutshell, the scope and sequence. A very important conversation that continues to build, and this is just a small part of how we're going to continue to build upon this idea of energy efficiency and conservation. I think the community has expectations. I know our Board of Education has expectations that we continue to learn about how we can incorporate this mindset, learn and integrate it into our work. Again, because if you think about the skills and dispositions students need to have success, this is one. And if you take a look at the 27 classrooms we're renovating, you'll see energy smart lighting. The boiler replacements is about high efficiency units. Bathroom upgrades with plumbing fixtures that are highly efficient. And upgrades with the curtain wall speaks to higher thermal resistant values for energy consumption or reducing energy consumption. And digital controls for the high school, putting it on an automated system, again, for efficiency purposes, but just very basic and beginning of this journey that we're going to be going on. We'll be conducting an audit with Impact Earth. That's the name of a company that is helping us form our baseline as to how we are currently, as a school community, not just one building, but as a school community, how are our conservation efforts and what are our next steps? And I know the board has interest of bringing in experts and consultants in to talk about, what are the major shifts that we need to pivot on if we were to incorporate this in the future planning. So lots of exciting things this new decade holds. Proud and honored to serve it all, and I appreciate all of our staff who makes incredible contributions and makes this the best place for our students. Thank you.
Thanks for taking so many vitamins yourself. I know you're everywhere and doing so many things. So, we will have our treasure and investment update by Mr. Stevens. Go ahead.
Hey, good evening and thank you. Tonight we have the treasures and investment update for November of 2019. We had a beginning general fund cash balance of $89.4 million, receipts in the month of $7.5 million, disbursements of $10.4 million, for an ending cash balance of $86.5 million. Right on track in terms of previous years. In the expense revenue category of the $86.5 million, approximately $76.4 is invested in a mixture of T-bills, insured cash sweep account, and the CDs. It's about 88% of the general fund cash as a whole. So if you look at last year and compare timing of some of the disbursements, you'd notice just be timing of BOCES payment or library tax warrant that the district collects the taxes and shifts it over to the library as well.
Do you have a high-level view of what the return is on that investment? How much money we're deriving each year from, I know the rates are pretty low, but it's that on the bank account, that's for sure.
Yeah, with the current investments, just as those as a whole, because those have determined maturity dates, that's approximately $650,000 in terms of those pieces. Again, some would be a mixture of that going back to reserves that are invested in earning the money, and some of that does go to overall operating revenue.
So you're saying $650,000 is positive revenue for the district?
That's revenue, yep.
That's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah, and that's only counting the treasury bills, CDs, those that have that fixed maturity on those pieces.
Well, if you think about it, that's, I don't know, 1% of a levy. Right?
And I have to chime in. I'm proud of the work that we've done there, and I'm proud of the willingness to try different things that are safe and prudent and fall within all the different guidelines that we have to follow as schools, and just to try to maximize that return for the purposes you just stated.
Yeah.
And just to highlight, Brett, I mean, we weren't doing this a number of years ago, right? So the return we had on our investments at the time was paltry compared to what you just talked about. So that's really good. There's always cryptocurrencies.
Wait, back to safe. What did you mention about safe? I don't suppose you had enough time from 1 p.m. today to completely analyze the governor's budget and nothing there yet? Okay.
Just so you know, that we're still awaiting our exact allotment. I've talked to colleagues just as before I came in here, and we have not received our complete aid run yet.
I noticed NISBA just put out something here just a few
Just a
minutes
statement,
back, so, yeah.
Perfect. Oh, Matt will be doing.
Starting to come out. But thank you. Yeah. So that moves us to our consent calendar, which does include the acceptance of the treasurer's report for November, but also minutes from other workshops. If there's anything anybody wants to remove, now's the time to do it. Otherwise, I need a motion to accept the consent calendar.
Move.
Tim first, second. Kevin, all in favor? Any opposed? No, 6-0. And we have a donation to both accept and say thank you, but that's I'm tongue-tied. The Stillman Foundation to our Dudley in terms of care of the fish tank, which is awesome. So all in favor of acceptance or any question? Need a motion to accept?
Move.
So Joyce, second Tim. Go ahead, now's the time before you vote.
Who and what is the Ferguson Stillman Foundation? What do they advocate?
Alexa.
And the connection to Dudley. I'm curious to know the connection for this organization, because they're out of Clarence, which is Buffalo.
Right. As I was reading it, I thought the same thing. It's like I should have looked this up sooner. I'm not sure why the question didn't pop in my mind last Thursday when I read it, but it only did tonight. So I'm sorry I don't have an answer.
We did talk about it, but we just didn't, as far as, the actual aquarium and yeah.
I mean, it's very generous.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
It'd be nice to know a little bit about that.
It's a trustee, so,
All right.
yep.
And I assume from our district office, we send a thank you letter or recognition? Yep, very good. Great, well, thank you so much to them. And all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Really? Seriously? No, okay, 6-0. Very good, then move on to personnel actions. First, instructional. I don't want to list off some of these. Long-term substitute appointments, retirement notification, we'll get back to that. Teachers to serve, and, right, all long list here. So motion to accept these.
Move.
Tim first, Judy second. Any questions or comments? No, all in favor? Any opposed? 6-0, so we'd like to give a little bit of time to our distinguished person who gave us notification of retirement, Mr. Rich Green. He wanted to make some public comments, and we decided to move it from the public comment section to this point.
Thank you. All right, well, I have to change my script a little bit because I wasn't sure whether I was going to talk to you before the vote, and I was going to say you're likely to approve my retirement, and you did, so very good. Good evening, and thank you for giving me this special privilege to address you directly as part of the board meeting. And as I was saying earlier, thank you for taking action on my notice of retirement, and I plan to step down as principal of Jefferson Avenue School at the end of June of this year. And I want to take this opportunity to thank you as the representatives of the Fairport Central School District for allowing me the honor to serve this great school district these 16 years. There is a spirit in the Fairport schools and the greater community of Fairport that I believe is unique and special, and I am very lucky to have found my way here. I would like to take a little time to talk about me, but also you. In my career as an educator, I've always striven to be an advocate for children. I believe that this is the primary and solemn charge of everyone who chooses the career of teaching. Pardon me for a moment. And I did not discuss this with Brett before, he had no idea. So it just turns out that we were both talking about important questions to ask about children. I taught 5th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten in Dansville to start my career. And this was taken at Stony Brook Park when I was a 3rd grade teacher. At the end of the year, we would go, the whole 3rd grade in the school would go down to Stony Brook. And I took half of my class, and another parent took the other half of my class. We went sort of wandering around the trails, and we went up the gorge, and we stopped in front of a waterfall. And I had one of those Kodak disposable cameras, right? And, sent it in to be developed, and this is one of the pictures that came back, and I just thought, this is the coolest picture ever. And then my wife Kathy was good enough to have it blown up to poster size and then put on this plaque. And I'll tell you a little bit about that. There we go. So yeah, I taught 5th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten in Dansville before becoming a principal. And when I decided to make that move to the dark side, administration, I used this poster as a prompt to guide my behavior in all things related to schooling. It was displayed on the wall in my office in Keshequa, where I was first a principal, and it has resided in my office at Jefferson Avenue School since July of 2004 until this afternoon when I picked it up and brought it here, and I'll bring it back there tomorrow. Whenever faced with a difficult decision, this question has served as the litmus test to help me know the right thing to do. And I brought this with me tonight because I believe it does not just reflect my approach to leadership, but also that of the Fairport Central School District Board of Education. And I want to commend you all for that and encourage you to continue to keep that at the fore of all you do. As I mentioned in my retirement notice letter, if you read it, the membership of the board has changed over the years, but the consistent message from this body, borne out by its actions over the years, has been one of advocacy, at times very courageous advocacy for children. And I am proud to serve in a school district that has so consistently taken this stance. So, one of the greatest gifts of working in a school is that every year begins afresh. There is a predictability in the school calendar, and with it a familiar, even comforting progression of events from September through the end of June. The school calendar will not play as big a role in my life come July, and that's something that's going to take some getting used to. I've been following the same progression of events each year for nearly 28 years. But this year I have been given the rare gift of knowing that each of these events, the first day of school, the hoedown, the faculty holiday show, homespun day, fifth grade, these are things that will happen, community day, international day, fifth grade's big exit, each of these will be the last one for me. And I'm taking in these experiences with feelings of joy and some sadness, of course, but mostly with a sense of gratitude, the theme of the year for JA, for being given the privilege of serving as the principal of Jefferson Avenue School. And for that, I say thank you.
Where's the guitar, Rich?
I considered it.
Thank you.
I just want to say I don't know that I have ever had such a strong urge to vote no. Can we not? Can we not? And try to recruit people to my side. My children were lucky enough to go through Jefferson Avenue with Mr. Green and are able to sing the mashed potato song to this day.
And I apologize for that.
I accept that and think it is a normal thing for a principal to play guitar while the kids march down the hallway and receive so much under your care. Thank you.
You could recruit me, but I'm not sure it'd do any good. All right. Somebody's retiring, no matter what, right?
I know.
Thank you, Rich, so much.
Rich, I feel compelled, you should come over here and we have a group hug. Because I really are, we're just so grateful for everything you've done for us, and the example you set, and really what's best for kids is always coming through. Whenever I visit your school and see you guys in action, it's awesome. So thanks.
We still have some time left, though.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah, the next several months will be filled with lots of celebrations. Looking forward to celebrating your incredible career and your rich legacy.
Rich legacy, love it.
And Rich, having spoken, Judy and I were meeting today, and I said, you know, JA is the one building I'd never been in. I've lived here all my life until we visited. And when I left that, I said, wow, magic happens here. And it's because of you and how you and your teachers and your staff make that magic happen. And you will love September 15th, if it's a Tuesday. Make all your appointments at 9 in the morning. You can vacation in October. It's a beautiful way to live, as is teaching and working in a school.
Will you stop? We need some people to stay working here for a while.
What are you doing?
He's never smiled so big.
People will always say, boy, you look good.
Well deserved, come that September day.
Yeah.
Well, we must press on. So to the athletics section of personnel actions, and motion to approve these actions. Judy, second Joyce. By way of comment, just recognizing again, we had all 13 of our fall teams and most of our teams throughout the course of the year make the same awards, right? Just thank you to all those who participate as coaches and volunteers. But anyway, any other comments or questions?
Mm-mm.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-0. Non-instructional and civil service?
Moved.
Second? Judy? Sure. twist some arms. Any comments, questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None, 6-0. Policy first read, were really heavy policies, or two of them are really heavy, right? And wow, you all did a lot of work on some of these. Motion to accept the first reading.
I know that I'm actually on the policy committee, so I should have done this beforehand. But I did notice that there was one thing that I thought we needed to change, or look at again in terms of the Booster Club one.
Can we get a motion to approve quickly?
sorry.
Sorry. Why don't you go ahead and make that?
I'll make the
I'll
motion.
second it.
Yeah.
So, okay, so I'll second Judy's
Okay.
first. So what's your question?
Oh, so we had said, let's see, that booster clubs, where is it? All donations must be voluntary and kept confidential, and lists of those who have not contributed may not be published. I think we just need to add or pursued, that there shouldn't be a second request, that this is a voluntary joining of activity. So I just thought we needed to look at that again.
So it's in the first reading, right?
It's in the first reading.
Yes, so I think we'll take note of that, and as we go back to
we'll
the
do it.
table,
To
we'll
second.
confirm it at the next policy meeting, and then bring it back here for the second reading. And I know that we'll be looking at searches and interrogations as well, in doing that. I think we're just moving it through the process, but that's well noted, because that was a part of our conversation. Does that work?
That works. Yep.
My only other comment regarding this policy was, said this group must receive official board approval and may not discriminate based on basis of sex, sexual orientation, color, national origin, ethnic background, gender identity, disability, religion, or any other arbitrary criteria. The only other criteria I thought about was economic, and I'm not sure if that's included in the arbitrary criteria or not.
But it would be a nice thing to actually
Yep.
Mention it because
specify, yes.
it piggybacks on what you were just speaking of.
Yeah.
With the searches and interrogations policy, I noticed we said it had Sarah Visengard review as well after all the other edits and some recommendations that were there. Is that the case every time, or like the child abuse and maltreatment one's pretty heavy as well and seemed like a lot of changes? Was that reviewed also by legal counsel?
We will bring it through legal counsel, depending on the particular subject. We also run it through our assistant superintendents, who have direct networks and links to how policies are actually regulated as well. So, but yes, to your question, we use our legal counsel. A lot of these policies, a majority of these policies come from our Erie 1 BOCES, which again is a legal contract that we subscribe to. So that's another
They
area where
involve
it's
legal
vetted.
people on their side?
Yes.
Okay,
Yep,
right.
yep.
Thank you.
Yeah, there was a lot in these two policies, certainly, and, a lot of work on your part, so thank you for that. But I was wondering, was there a particular impetus behind all these changes?
For what policy?
Well, both of them, I mean, they're both related, right, with CPS and searches and.
So some of these policies come up on cycle. So every year, BOCES Erie 2 BOCES will make recommendations. These policies are up for review, so they help us on a cycle. The Booster Club came up last year on a cycle, but it's something that we're revisiting. I think that the policy committee, please jump in. But that's a priority, is just making sure that we have a good policy there that supports our kids and families.
So these two policies regarding CPS and searches and so forth,
Yep.
there's so much here, and this is so important, this process. Is there any retraining that has to happen, with the staff and administration?
So that's part of the conversation. So we went to our last leadership cabinet, and we bring it up to them. And, do we bring in Harris Beach? Do we refine our practices with CPS? I mean, so those are ongoing conversations, and I think one thing that we try to do is bring policy, especially relevant policy that applies frequently, to the forefront. So, whether it's our behavior intervention team training, whether it's reviewing protocols with authorities or getting legal authorities in, by all means. It takes a lot of hands to apply it.
We've had extensive conversations regarding these two. And Brett did rely on the individuals who would be fulfilling this policy and said, what's current practice? And I mean, there's a lot, And then obviously they know that there's some, like Brett said, some significant training that we'll have to go on to.
Yeah, just looking at the
Yeah.
colors
Oh,
here,
yeah.
there's
Oh, yeah.
probably
Oh, yeah.
50% of it's been changed, so, okay, thanks.
And there you are, policy committee, unless you fear the rest of us don't ever look at what you do. We appreciate all the work you're doing.
Right.
Thank you for the extensive look at some of these, and
Mm-hmm.
especially these heavier, weighty ones. Any other comments or questions for that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-0. Policy second reading, those we saw about a month ago.
Mhm.
Motion to approve, I'll make the motion to approve second. Judy? Questions or comments on these? Okay, all in favor? for
Aye.
Second reading. Any opposed? 6-0. We have a bid award and contract for Brooks Hill Library HVAC capital outlay. This is our 100,000, always in the budget, so right out of our budget that gets
Mhm.
aided by the state, right? This one directly. Which hasn't increased in what, several decades in terms of that, is not adjusted for inflation, so, anyway, a lot less we can do with it. But, motion to approve,
Moved.
Tim, second, Kevin, questions?
I'd just like to point out that, the bid is 98,000 for the HVAC in Brooks Hill Library. Many times we have people approach us and say, when are we going to air condition our schools?
The whole school,
This,
right.
this is just the library, and it's $100,000.
Yeah.
I could only imagine what all of Brooks Hill would be to air condition. So.
This building right
it-
here.
Absolutely, and slowly, certain rooms get air conditioned, and certain areas get air conditioned, so maybe over the course of 20 years, maybe. But the cost precludes us from even investigating that.
Yeah. Until they invite us to come take a test in June with
Yes.
everybody else in the gym.
So Matt, this is not aidable.
No, this is.
This is, okay,
Yeah, this is aidable.
okay.
Yep.
So even though it's part of that specific $100,000.
Yeah,
it's
so the
allocated-
capital outlay, school districts can have one capital outlay project in their
Okay.
budget per year up to
Okay.
$100,000.
All right, so it's aidable at the.
Building aid rate.
Regular 79%. So it's actually not $98,000, it's
20.
20.
Correct.
So it's not quite so expensive.
Right.
But it's only,
I get you.
this one's
I
aidable,
get
the
it.
rest wouldn't be.
Right. I get it.
Still got to spend it.
Okay, thanks.
A lot of air conditioners.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 6-0. Intermunicipal agreement with Monroe BOCES 1, motion to approve.
Moved.
Judy, second. Tim? This is in reverse of what they did for us, kind of, is that right? And-
Yep, so while our transportation center was under construction, BOCES actually allowed us to do some fueling there, part of joint fueling, and they're going to be under construction as well. So essentially reverse of the same agreement that we had with them to be able to fuel while they're under construction.
I noticed that we're not responsible for actually doing the fueling.
No, it's self-serve.
So just from a legal perspective, if somebody were injured while refueling, we're not
There's
liable for that?
insurances in place that each carries their own insurance, and it's all laid out in the agreement. Yep.
Other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 6-0. Preliminary Smart Schools Investment Plan, motion to approve the preliminary plan. Anyone? Damon, second. Kevin? This, we talked about at the workshop, and if we approve it, this opens it up for 30-day comment period, is that right?
Correct, yep. 30-day comment period for posting on our website is where it'll be.
Right. So that will happen in terms of, it will end, I guess, at our next board meeting, but then where we will then move to the next step.
In terms of doing the work, and ask this cautiously, but actually, the partner that comes in to actually do the work with this technology, do we put that out for bid?
So you can look at both bid and state contracts, so just depending on the work itself, you can bid it to see if you can get a better price through the bid, but the state contract rules and regs that vendors have to follow, the state essentially has vetted from an insurance standpoint, there's a lot of requirements that they have to go through in terms of that for the non-collusion and bidding requirements, so.
Right, but
You
there's
really
still-
kind of want
there's-
to.
There's still multiple firms that would qualify under the state contract to do the work. How do we choose the actual vendor that's going to?
Just like
Yeah,
you would, just
competitive
like you
bid
would do like,
process and state
right.
contract, same way as a capital project.
Yep.
We'd go through the same process.
We'll have a bid day, and it'll be bid out, and,
Yep.
that's why this
There-
isn't something that just takes out, that immediately happens, because now it's wrapped up into a capital project, and we are trying to have it sort of parallel with what we're doing with Fairport Forward as well, so.
Yeah, I think it's also important to note that with state contract vendors that are out there and certain equipment and hardware and pieces that school districts have, when it comes to addressing maintenance, all those different pieces, that some standardization is something schools talk about as well in terms of specific hardware as well. So it's all, pieces that roll into our systems and software and hardware.
Yeah, I wasn't really talking about the selection of the vendor for the equipment. I was saying who's going to actually come in and do the work.
Yeah, it's competitive bidding.
Yep.
Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? 6-0, let the comment period begin. And then finally, school-sponsored field trips. Motion to approve? Anyone? Joyce? Second? Oh, Judy? Comments or questions? No, some cool ones on there. Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 6-0. So that brings us to comments. We have an executive session, so if you want to make any comments right now, fellow board members, now is a good time. Anyone?
I just want to say that I did
Microphone.
attend the Diversity Council and the Lead by Example that Brett talked about, and it was extraordinary, both of them. I think we have an extraordinary group of people. Lead by Example is a small group. I hope it gets bigger. But he and Kelly have just done a magnificent job putting these together, getting them rolling. I'm really excited to see this work starting. I think I'm very optimistic about it, but the people in the room are really terrific. We had great discussions, and it's really off the ground in a good way, I think, so I hope we can keep this pace going.
Fantastic, and thank you for attending, keeping us up to date. Thank you, Brett, for pushing those along, moving those along. Other comments? Okay, then we will have a vote here to go into executive session. There is not any decisions that we will make afterwards, so we will, when we reconvene into open session, then we will quickly adjourn. So need a motion to enter into executive session?
Moved.
Tim, second. Judy, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No, 6-0. Thank you, everyone, for attending. Do we have who's invited there? We do.